Hello everyone, so to really kick off the series talking about what my personal dream Dragon Ball game would be, I figured it'll be quite interesting and to an extent useful to dedicate an entire video talking about what I personally think the 2017 console game will and won't be. But before we actually get into it, I do need to mention this. There's a very strong chance that this video will become outdated within the next few months or possibly within the next few weeks. The reason why I say this is because as of me recording this video, and I don't know when I'll release it, but as of me recording this video, it is currently the 20th of April 2017, and typically speaking, but there are a few exceptions to this, but for the most part, a new console Dragon Ball game is either leaked or announced in the middle of May. Just a bit of context, if you're watching this at some point in the future, you know, like in terms of where we are with Dragon Ball gaming news, like I already mentioned, I'm recording this on the 20th of April 2017, and all we know so far is that the DLC free live stream presented by Namco Bandai, which will feature Rhymestyle, Seriax and Jadentastic, will happen later today. We'll probably get an announcement for like the release date of DLC Pack 3 in that live stream, but this video will probably go up at some point after the 20th of April, so in that live stream they probably gave us a release date for the DLC Pack 3 update. I mean, hell, by the time this video goes up, DLC Pack 3 may have already been released, I don't know. But I just wanted to mention that just in case you're watching this at some point in the future or far future and I've said something that has maybe already happened, that I said may happen. You know, it's just context, so I just need to mention that just in case. So right now, in the Dragon Ball gaming community, we are about to get DLC Pack 3, or we've just been given it. Okay, so what's next? Well, they've already mentioned that there will be 4 DLC updates for Xenoverse 2, so DLC Pack 4 will feature Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta or Vegito Blue, additional story mode content from the Future Trunks saga in Dragon Ball Super, and apparently a new stage, and of course, we'll get new emotes, new attacks, new parallel quests, maybe a few new mentors and expert missions, but those 3 things I've just mentioned, you know, Vegito Blue, the story mode content and the new stage, that's what we know we will get so far. I think it's safe to say we'll get Super Saiyan Rage, Future Trunks as well, and maybe merged Zamasu. I don't know about the latter, but that's where we are in terms of DLC Pack 4 right now. The update for DLC Pack 1 was released on the 20th of December 2016. The update for DLC Pack 2 was released on February the 28th, 2017, and I'd assume DLC Pack 3, the update, will go live on April 25th. Again, I don't know if they've already revealed the release date on the live stream, but that's what I'm just assuming right now. So, looking at this, we can see that, well, like more or less, it's every 2 months. Like a new DLC pack will be released every 2 months, so I'd assume DLC Pack 4 will be released on either the 20th or the 27th of June. Xenoverse 2 was released in late October 2016, and if you guys remember, one of the things they promised was that there will be support up to at least 1 year after release. Now, quick note, on the PC or the Steam side of things, they did say 6 months, but that was apparently a mistake, and they did correct that, so it is 1 year, it's not 6 months. So if DLC Pack 4 is indeed to be released in late June, then there's like, what, another 4 months of promised support? I don't personally think that that support will be things like new raids, new invasion events, or new types of world tournaments. I personally think we'll get more DLC, like a second season pass maybe, I don't know. The reason why I mention this is because apparently a new Dragon Ball console game has to be released every single year. Now, of course, I've not seen the contract, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but apparently a new Dragon Ball game for consoles has to be released every single year. So if DLC Pack 4 will indeed come out in late June, then again, there's 4 months of promised support, you know, 4 months at least. So if teams are indeed going to continue to work on Xenoverse 2 until the promised deadline, which is late October 2017, then of course, it just makes sense to me to think that Dims won't be working on this year's Dragon Ball game. So that being said, what will the new 2017 Dragon Ball console game be? Well, I'd probably say that the 2 biggest contenders at the moment are Xenoverse 3 and Raging Blast 3. Now, I'll get into that in a moment, but Xenoverse 3 just isn't going to happen this year, at least in my opinion, because like I've already mentioned, as I'm recording this, DLC Pack 3 and 4 haven't been released yet, and even if they were, there'll still be a few months of continued support, as they already promised before Xenoverse 2 was even released, so that would take us to, like I've already mentioned, the end of October. They simply, from a business standpoint, wouldn't announce Xenoverse 3 at the end of October 2017 and then release it before the 1st of January 2018. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to announce it at the end of this year, but they definitely won't release it. Maybe in the middle or the end of 2018, that's when we may get Xenoverse 3, but again, it just will not, 100% will not be released in 2017. Now, Raging Blast as a franchise sold terribly, especially Raging Blast 2, so because of that, there will never ever be an official release called Dragon Ball Raging Blast 3. Now, maybe an unofficial fan-made game will be released at some point, but in terms of Namco Bandai or a future publisher releasing a game called Dragon Ball Raging Blast 3, it's just not going to happen because, like I've already mentioned, as a franchise or a series, Raging Blast just was not hot. It just simply wasn't. Before I continue in this video, I do want to say that if you guys like the Raging Blast 3 fanwish project, or you want something from that project added into an official game in the future, in the description there will be a link to the Facebook page, the project page by Trevax. Go over there and leave a like if you haven't already. Like, go and like the page. As of me recording this, I've just checked, it's at just over 91,000 likes, and oh my god, for a Dragon Ball game fanwish project, that is absolutely insane. Now, it's important to support this because even though we won't get a game called Dragon Ball Raging Blast 3, at least not an official one, that doesn't mean that they won't look at it and take the best elements from it and add it to future games. So again, if you like anything from that, personally I love the fact that, well, in the fanwish you can have Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3 and 4 for your created Saiyan, and then you can, you know, change the hair colour, the aura for each transformation. Like, I love that. That's something that just excites me. I love it. Just go off there, leave a like, that's all you need to do. The more likes that gets, the more attention you'll get. So again, just because that won't actually be released in terms of, you know, it just won't be released as Dragon Ball Raging Blast 3, that doesn't mean that elements from it won't be incorporated into future Dragon Ball games. I mean, apparently, according to Trevax, it's because of that project that Mira and Terra are in Xenoverse. Now, of course, they were in Dragon Ball Online beforehand, but apparently, like, the developers completely forgot that they existed, and Trevax, I think it was when Ultimate Tenkaichi was about to be released, or maybe Battle of Z, it was one of those, don't quote me on that, but it was like some point, you know, at that time where Trevax actually went to the developers when it was at like a convention like Anime Expo or Japan Expo or something like that, and he actually showed them the fanwish, and they saw that Mira and Terra were on there, and they said, oh, that's interesting, or something like that, and apparently that's why they are now in Xenoverse. So just to sum up, if you guys haven't already liked the Facebook page, then go and like it, there'll be a link in the description. If you already have liked it, share it with people, make sure they like it, and just because that game under the Raging Blast 3 name won't be released, it doesn't mean that elements from that won't be used for future Dragon Ball games. And that being said, back to the video. So now that those two are out the way with, and going back to what we know from like word of mouth from the quote-unquote official Namco Bandai Dragon Ball game contract, apparently it can't be a port, so the Xenoverse 2 Nintendo Switch port is going to count as the 2017 Dragon Ball game, and apparently it can't be a remaster, and of course, well, it's not going to be a handheld game, so if Dragon Ball Fusions 2 is announced this year, that's not going to count either. Now, let's be fair, at some point we will probably get a re-release or a remaster or remake of Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, probably with trophy support, 1080p, 60 FPS graphics, and online. Now again, I don't know anything, but it just makes sense to me to think that at some point, either be this year, next year, or 10 years from now, well, maybe not 10 years from now, but at some point we're probably going to get a Budokai Tenkaichi 3 remake. But we already know that remakes don't count towards the yearly game, so again, what could it be? Well, let's try to eliminate a few other possibilities. So this next one should be, I guess, common sense or obvious, but if you guys just don't know, then of course you just don't know, so I'll mention it anyway. The 2017 Dragon Ball game isn't going to be a mobile game or like a smartphone game or something for your tablet. It's just not going to be that. That's not to say that we won't get a new mobile Dragon Ball game this year, but again, if they do release it, much like the handheld games, it's just not going to count. So if they decide to release, I don't know, Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle 2 or something completely different, again, that simply will not count towards the yearly Dragon Ball game for consoles. So that being said, that only realistically leaves us with a few other possibilities. Firstly, it could be some sort of pure open world game, not like Tokusaki City or Content City. Like, I'm talking something similar to how Dragon Ball Online works, or maybe something similar to Zelda Breath of the Wild. So maybe it'll be a Switch exclusive. Maybe not though, given that the Switch is still quite new as we're recording this video. So of course not everyone has one yet. So releasing a game on Switch, well, that's exclusive to the Switch right now, it just wouldn't sell that well. Now, I'm not saying it would sell terribly, but it just wouldn't sell as well as it would if you released it for Steam, PS4, Xbox One, and of course the Switch as well. So it's not going to be a Switch exclusive game. And thinking about it a bit more, I just don't think the 2017 console Dragon Ball game will be a Switch exclusive game for two reasons. Firstly, the Switch has only been released for like what? Not even 2 months, as in we're recording this, like more like 6 weeks, maybe 6.5 weeks or 7 weeks, something like that. Like, I think it came out on the 3rd of March, it's the 20th of April, like I've already said. So there's that. And secondly, we already know that Xenoverse 2 has been officially confirmed to be released on the Switch at some point. So if I'm going to release that in 2017, I just don't see why they would release Xenoverse 2 and maybe Xenoverse 1 as well as like some sort of bundle. But Xenoverse 2 and then maybe a few weeks or months later release an additional Dragon Ball game for the Switch as well, because that would just completely kill the sales of Xenoverse 2. So it just makes sense to me to think that they're going to want to pace the release of Dragon Ball games. But given the critical acclaim and how well Zelda Breath of the Wild has done, I think because of that, we may at some point get some sort of pure open world Dragon Ball game for the Switch, or at least built for it. So next, oh man, we know that Dragon Ball games aren't afraid to experiment. For example, Dragon Ball Z for Kinect. Now, oh man, I would hope that they've learnt their lesson, that doing stuff like that will just completely fail. But given that VR is to an extent hot right now, like it is a gimmick, but I don't know how long it's going to stay hot for, I just have a feeling that the next Dragon Ball game for consoles will be something that's exclusive for VR. I hope it's not, because I just don't think they'll be able to do justice, and I think we'll be put back into the dark ages of Dragon Ball games, you know, such as Battle of Z, Dragon Ball Z for Kinect, and Ultimate Tenkaichi. But I do have a feeling that this may be what they're going to do. But in terms of what I personally think will happen, well, again, going back to the contract, I don't think it's actually a new Dragon Ball game each year, like not a brand new game, but rather a collection of games that's released at the same price that you would pay for a new game. So maybe what we will get, and I think this is what we will actually get, it'll be some sort of collection. So maybe a Tenkaichi collection, which of course will be Tenkaichi 1, 2 and Tenkaichi 3, or maybe a best of, so we'll get Burcol 3, Infinite World and Burcol Tenkaichi 3. That's personally what I think we will get. It just makes sense given that, you know, last year we got Xenoverse 2, the year before that it was, well, technically the year before that it was Xenoverse 1, because it's in like February. It's either going to be that, a VR game, or something completely new, like the start of a new franchise or a new series, maybe by Spike Chunsoft, because if you guys have been keeping note, it's been a while since they've released an update for Zenkai Battle Royale, and I don't think it will be that we get, but I think in the next game will either be VR, a collection priced at you know, a full game price, or something made by a new developer, or bringing a new developer back, so maybe Spike. So yeah, that's what I've got for this video. Now, this is what I am interested in the most. What do you guys think we'll get this year? Do leave a comment, because it'll be quite interesting to read them. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and with that being said, I'll see you next time.